Where does the statistics say your team will finish in 2024? Now, stats aren't everything in any sport, and in particular in the AFL, stats don't mean anything. But there are some very important statistics which you should look at. And the statistics I'm going to look at were based on 2023, what your AFL club did. And these stats are very good predictors for a team's success. AKA, generally speaking, for most years recently, the teams that do well in these stats win the flag / make finals. So there's obviously a range of different stats we can go on about. There's some obvious ones. We're going to start with contested possessions. Now, contested possessions is a really important statistic with how the midfield's doing. And generally, the better the statistics of the contested possessions, the better the team will play, because generally speaking, you get those contested possessions, do the hard ground ball work, you move the ball forward, and the more time the ball is spent in your inside 50 or your forward 50, your forward half, the better. Now, clearances aren't as important because they are generally made just through the center square in that first bounce. But contested possessions has in history been a great indicator with how your team's doing. Now, in 2023, the most recent evidence we can get, there were some pretty big outliers. For example, West Coast were by far the worst teams on the contested possession basis, getting only 2,787 for the whole season. And that statistics where North Melbourne got under 3,000, even Essendon got under 3,000, which is a concern. Now, for a lot of these stats, it really is based around the game style that coach is trying to implement. Some coaches like to implement a game style solely revolved around contested possession, others around turnovers. So there's a range of game styles, but this stat generally conclusively is very important. By far the best in 2023 was Carlton with 3,704 contested possessions, which is a great indicator with how they did and how they'll continue to go. The Brisbane Lions got over 3,500. Just under 3,500 was Collingwood, only getting 3,443. GWS got 3,683, which puts them just in second place, actually, narrowly behind Carlton, but that's another great indicator with why they did so well in finals. Just under them was Melbourne. Melbourne finished in third place with the contested possession count, and you keep going on, there's no other big outliers. But you can already see that the top 5 teams were basically the top 5 teams of the year, albeit Port Adelaide was a little bit behind, and Collingwood surprisingly wasn't at the top. But you can see with teams like Essendon, who finished third last in the whole year, that's a massive concern. There were only 33 contested possessions above second last North Melbourne, and that is not a good read if you're an Essendon fan. So you take things like that into consideration with how you're going to do your 2024 predictions. Next is inside 50s. Now, there's a lot to do with inside 50s, but it's a really good idea of how well your team does attacking wise. Now, obviously, there are a range of different types of inside 50s. You can get deep ones, quite, shallow inside 50s. There's a range. But in 2023, Melbourne, Port Adelaide, Brisbane, GWS, they were the best 4. Once again, the best 4. All 4 of those teams went deep into the finals. Melbourne and Port Adelaide went out straight sets. But inside